But yeah, so what? I'm always curious, kind of as to what. I don't want to get into. Well, what do you think? This is your now third time on the show because you were on by yourself. You were on with the fantastic Amy Young,
indeed,
and now you're on for this annual show. And I had kind of done a sort of traditional format the last couple of years in a row where we just kind of went over the lists and discussed each other's picks, and then kind of talked about some things we might be looking forward to that are coming out next year. And this year I'm just kind of like, let's do whatever. We could get our lists out of the way like at the top, and then just talk about some of like what our favorite musical moments were for the year. There was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of great shows this year too. So
sure, I'm open to that. I was going to ask, since it's my third time, is it? Do you do like an SNL thing where like you get a guest comes out X amount of times? You're like, here's your member jacket.
The 5-time club.
Here's the 5-time club. Because I'm gunning for it.
That's great. I should. That's one of my favorite skits. Is that an Alec Baldwin one, or is it a Tom Hanks?
I think it's a Tom Hanks one.
Because I'm trying to think. Because Steve Martin is there, but he's part of he's in the club. Is Paul Simon in that one? I think he makes a brief appearance. Yeah, but I
think Tina Fey is as well. I think maybe
it's a great sketch.
The list is kind of just on a tangent. Uproxx, the music site.
Yeah,
they're trying to do a version of the Pass and Jot poll this year because Village Voice shut down. Yeah. So they actually had people submit ballots. I submitted mine a week ago, so I made my top 10, like 10 albums, 10 songs of the year. I submitted it, and 2 days later, I'm like, "Fuck, why did I submit that?" Forgot about these 5 albums.
Oh yeah, no,
I had immediate remorse. So I'm like, "Oh man, I should not have put that out yet."
That's the worst. It was actually agonizing making this one because there was some where I was just like, that was just okay. It's going to go near the bottom. I kind of ranked everything out of 10, and then as I was going through, I was like, well, okay, so now how do I distinguish between the 5 albums that I gave an 8 to? So I started doing decimals and then
fractions and remainders. It's like I listen to music so I wouldn't have to do math.
It's all in 4/4. What am I doing? I'm doing picking things in tens. But yeah, so I have to be. I'm always honest about this. I try to listen to as wide a variety of music as possible, but I've got my comfort zones.
Oh, of course.
And this year I found myself listening to a lot of pop. Just, more so probably, and more new pop than and I use the word loosely. I think anything that has a hook is pop music to me.
That's not a bad basis for it, yeah.
I listened to a few experimental things here and there that kind of are sort of experimental sounding things that made it up into the list, but I don't know. I was looking at this and this one started to feel a little safe. It's like the top 10 is half stuff that I was bound to love from artists that I've listened to for many years, and the other was like first time albums for me, for first time artists for me rather. Well, maybe not their first album, but first time I picked up something of theirs. All right, well, this is the part of the show where Susu has decided to roll in front of the guest. That's a new one. Do you have a cat?
I don't. 2 dogs. They're both Shih Tzus.
Okay, well,
one of them is actually half orc at this point because she's got like a overgrown tooth that crosses her mouth and like she's missing an eye.
Oh well, yeah. Gizmo's got the eyes that you can't tell which way he's looking. So, and
cats.
And Susu is Gizmo's a Shih Tzu, and then Susu's just kind of gotten used to him. So she's probably just like, I smell more of them. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just
let's do it.
And I guest goes first. How would you like to? I've been listening to a bunch of James Bonding recently, so I kind of have liked their like going back and forth, and which is one of the reasons I think next year I'm going to try for 3 people and just see if we go like have each person name their album before we talk about it, and it'll be interesting. But
sure.
So. Do you want to start with honorable mentions, things that you wanted to kind of put in there, and then they just didn't quite make the cut?
Well, definitely. There's one that really comes to mind was, and I actually recently did an interview with him, was Advanced Bass's Animal Companionship.
Okay, I haven't listened to that one yet. I have listened to his music before, but
it's really interesting because it's a conceptual album where almost all the songs either involve somebody who owns a dog or like they relate to pets in some way. But it's an album about human relationships, about kind of like how people kind of obsess over other people, or what happens when grief sets in when somebody dies or leaves you. And the dogs are kind of almost used as like a way of kind of approaching that obliquely. And it's a really beautiful album. The lyrics and some of the songs, like there's one song, Dorothy and Kim, that's like one of my favorite songs of the year. As a pure narrative, it's a beautiful song.
Oh, really?
It's so well done. And the whole record, like, every time I listen to it more and more, I'm like, if I had listened to this album a couple months ago when it first came out, it'd probably be much higher on my list.
Interesting.
Because I listen to it every day now. And it's just, I think a part of it, too, is just, not to be cliche, but because I am in my late 30s now,
mm-hmm.
I kind of relate to the themes on the album a lot. A lot of it's about comfort. It's about people being like, it's about wanting to be with people because, you want passion in your life, but also because you don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
You want to have that connection. You want to have that comfort to have somebody around with you in life. And there's stuff in that album that I think I relate to now that I don't think I'd relate to if I was 20 listening to that record in the same way.
Had you listened to much of his music before?
I did. I admit for years I avoided his music because
mm-hmm.
Cassiotone or Painfully Alone is such a cheesy name.
Yes.
I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But his stuff is really good. And
it is.
All the stuff I've heard of him, I've loved it. But I've missed the last couple of albums.
I probably have too. I mean, I had started listening to him because he was on Mark Kozlik's label, Caldo Verde. Yeah. And so, I figured before I actually went and saw Mark Kozlik live and decided he was just an insufferable asshole, and that I should have already known that before that. But when you go up on stage and tell people up front, I'm not going to sing any of the old songs. Oh, yeah, and I'm also not going to play guitar. It's just like, oh, man, okay. But so I started listening to him because of that, and I liked how sparse it was. I kind of liked the eclecticism of it, which I think I just made up eclecticism. But why not? He's got some interesting just themes and things. You mentioned everybody in there having like a dog or something. One of his albums is just all covers of some obscure hymns by one person who had been, I think he might have been a slave or something, and he like found these old hymns and did an album of them. Makes no sense for him to be doing it, but it had an eerie, beautiful quality to it. It was interesting.
Nice, that's really cool.
I like people who just are kind of down to not I guess just do what they want.
Yeah, totally. And plus, I just love the keyboard he said. Like I have this weird bias where it's hard for me to singer-songwriter music has to work harder to grab my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have somebody with an acoustic guitar, like, I'm gonna sing you some songs. Like I'm for some reason I have a built-in defense against that, where I'm like, you're gonna have to work a little harder to win me over.
Yeah.
Whereas with Advanced Bass, I think if you took that album and it was all on guitar, I might be more resistant to it. I think.
Right. Less interested in the concept.
Right, but because it's the guy with synths doing kind of like a suicide kind of thing, like that was much easier for me to kind of find a connection to those songs faster.
That's interesting. It's definitely true. I want to say it was probably towards maybe the end of the 90s, the mid 2000s, where everybody was some acoustic troubadour kind of thing coming through, and I'm like, I'm done. This is just, it all sounds the same, which is, to somebody who really liked that style of music for a long time, and there's still some great shining examples. It is you have to really break through my defense on that for me to take a listen. Well, so my first entry in the
honorable mentions.
The honorable mentions, yeah. Which there are so many that I want. There were so many that were so just like right. Like if we did a top 20, I might have felt better about it. Because so many good albums this year. But I'll go ahead and hit Wild Pink, Yolk in the Fur.
I haven't heard that one.
I like it a lot. It had I hadn't listened to it much since getting it. And then when I listened to it again recently, I was again kind of prepared to put it middle of the pack kind of thing. I'm like, wow, this is really damn good actually. There is a little bit of it's like a pop record, but a very kind of it's just really solid hooks. It's kind of got a little bit of a laid back quality to it. It almost veers into shoegaze a little bit,
yeah.
But kind of maintains the pacing of more of a pop record.
Pardon me.
Yeah. So I like that one a lot. I highly recommend that.
Cool. I think another one on my short list would probably be, I know this wasn't very well received when it came out, but I really liked the Arctic Monkeys album.
Oh, did you?
Tranquility Base.
Because I kind of like the single.
Yeah, the single wasn't great, but I really liked the vibe of the album, which is kind of like a space age bachelor pad music, where it's pulling off of like a lot of old school like lounge and exotica music.
Yeah.
Kind of, for this kind of vibe of the album, and that kind of music is kind of an easy. I mean, I'm an easy mark for that kind of stuff.
Okay. I could see that. I want to throw John Grant's album out there from this year, Love is Magic. If you don't know who John Grant is, he used to front the Czars. He's been a solo artist for a number of years. He's kind of been bigger in Europe, I guess one could say. But he's done some just tremendous work in his last several. Queen of Denmark won a lot of awards, and then he's just kind of gone deeper into electronic music. And I'm not a big electronic music fan personally, but he's like experimenting with it in a way that appeals to me. There's some juxtaposition between this very obviously synth-based stuff, and then he's got this kind of deep baritone singing, some particularly ridiculous lyrics on a number of occasions. Like he's talking about like one of the songs in particular, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but he's basically it's part of it's just a dialogue of this guy, like one-sided. Think of like who's Bob Newhart? Like when he would do his phone bits, and you would just hear the one part of the conversation, but it's like in a bar. It's in a gay bar, and he's picking up, or he's like trying to tell this guy that he's not all that, and then it just like keeps devolving into like by the end of it, he's like, oh, I guess we did sleep together. How many times? But this one also sounds like it almost sounds like 8-bit video game music.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah, and especially the first half of it, and there was just something that I'm like, it was just ridiculous enough. It was one of those where like the absurdist kind of quality to some of the music to come out of this year seemed to match the surrealism of reality. And that hit the spot for me. So that one almost cracked the top 10. It was very close, but not quite.
It sounds really cool. Yeah. I think for me, probably one of the other big ones that really like missed it by a hair was an album by American Pleasure Club called The Whole Fucking Lifetime of This.
Oh.
And if you're not familiar with them, it's like they're a project. The main guy in its name is Sam Ray, and the band used to be called Teen Suicide for a few years before they switched it because they're like, yeah, it's kind of an edgelord kind of name. But it's really kind of like this bedroom noise pop project. But it's the album stuff is really fantastic because it has all these different little experiments. Like it veers